And welcome back to another Gradle video on my YouTube channel. And in this video you're going to learn what is Gradle, what is build automation. Also, you're going to learn about tasks in Gradle, build scans, and more. So without further ado, let's get started. So before you know what Gradle is, you first know what is build automation. And before I read those two definitions that I have written of what is build automation, I'll just cover it in my own words. So build automation, to explain it, I'll open an app here. Build automation is basically, as the name suggests, is automating your build. So you may want to, when you, for example, build your app, here we don't have build, but when you build your app, you might want to do some tasks within when building your application. For example, you may want to move this package.json file into some folder, and you might want to do some other tasks. So you do that by doing build automation. Now let's read the first definition, which implies that build automation is the act of automating a wide variety of tasks that software developers do. So what are these tasks? These tasks are task is, let's say, to just compile this file, and then the compiled file, put it in some folder. That is build automation. That is a tasks, and you make tasks by just writing or making test scripts. And the second definition, which just explains what build automation is as the first one, says that build automation is the automation of tasks needed in order to process and prepare source code for deployment to production. Also, build automation is going to start with source code and end with something ready for deployment. This includes dependency management, compiling, automation tests, deployments. So as you can see, build automation is also, for example, if you have a program, here all the files, this is basically a React app, and what I do is all of my React code is compiled and put ready into this build folder. So that is an example of what build automation is. So now, once you know what build automation is, let's see what is a build tool. So build tool is a software application that helps in build automation. That's a really straightforward definition of what a build tool is, so don't go more in depth about that. So, and also here I have written the common build tools, and in one of which is Gradle. You don't need to know these, just know that we're learning about Gradle. So what is Gradle? Let's see. Gradle is an open source build automation tool designed to help with build automation for multi-language software development. And this is, I actually made this definition from multiple sources. So Gradle is, first of all, a build tool that helps with build automation. See, now that's why you needed to know these terms first before I tell you what Gradle is. So also Gradle is, I'm not pretty sure, but I think it's the most popular build tool out there just because of this feature. or because of the ability of Gradle to integrate, or to you have the ability to integrate Gradle in all types of languages. It allows you uh, to do build automation for multi-language software development. Other things you need to know are project and tests. So everything in Gradle is basically sits in two basic concepts: project and tasks. As I've mentioned previously, to do build automation you need tasks, and of course for that you need a project. That is what is meant by project and tasks. So every Gradle build is made up of one or more projects. It will usually be one. And each project is made up of one or more tasks. The next thing is features of Gradle. I'll just mention this here, they're not that important, but just for reference. The first one being high performance. So Gradle avoids unnecessary work by only running the tasks that need to run, because their inputs or outputs have changed. So that is a very smart way how Gradle avoids work. It avoids work by running only the tasks needed to run. Also, the next feature of Gradle is it has JVM foundations, and for that, because of this feature, you must have a JDK installed to use Gradle. The next feature is it's extensible. Gradle actually has its own default tasks, but you can also write your own custom tasks or extend those tasks of Gradle. Next, this one is also really cool because it supports the most popular IDEs like Android Studio, Intellij, etc. So you're probably, if you're using one of those, you can easily integrate Gradle into your projects. Insight. This one I called it Insight, but I may as well have called it build scans, because what Insight means is in Gradle you have a feature called build scans, which actually provide extensive information about a build run that you can use to identify build issues. So a build scan is basically when you run your program with the tasks, you will have this log, which is actually a build scan that later is uploaded to internet, and you can share it to your colleagues or the other people working on that project, so they can see what went wrong, etc. Let's see how Gradle works. Gradle actually, these are tests, and Gradle models its tests in this graph called DAG, or Directed Acyclic Graph of tasks. So this is the first task we usually have, which is built. Image is blurred out a little bit for some reason, probably because it should be small or not. But you can find it just by typing this in Google. So basically, first of all, this is the graph, and when you run build, if build what these arrows mean, that build is dependent on those two tasks. And this task is also dependent on these jar tasks. So to run build, you first need to run this, and because this task depends on this one, this task is run, and because this task depends on these two, actually the tasks start running from these two, and until they finish, this task does not run. When this runs, the next one is this one, and you get the point. So basically, I think that's all for directed DAGs. The building block of Gradle is task. You create if you're using Gradle, you create your own tasks, modify the default Gradle tasks, and use straight up without making any change the default Gradle tasks. So what is a task? First of all, I probably needed to mention a task basically represents some atomic piece of work which a build performs. As I said previously, for when you do your build, and that is, by the way, that is the simplest. Let's see where I have written that. Oh, it's in the next point. So the build task is actually a task which is what is called a standard lifecycle test. Those tests don't have any actions, they simply collect or aggregate multiple tests together. The simplest task, the simplest lifecycle task is the build task. So when you run or build, I should say, when you build your program, what you do is many other tests start later, like we have seen in that picture before. And actually I didn't finish this part. The task might be compiling some classes, storing class files into separate target folder. So a task could be a lot of things, and you'll see later in action when we create a task. Next one on the list is plugin. Plugin is basically a collection of tasks that serve a specific purpose. You'll see later when we install and make a new Gradle build, etc., and create tasks. As you can see that we import plugin in Gradle to use the Gradle tasks. So the next thing you need to know after we covered plugin is what is Gradle Wrapper. First of all, remember that Gradle Wrapper is just a script. As you can see here, if we toggle this down, Gradle Wrapper is a script that can be added to a Gradle project and used to execute your build. So basically, if you share your Gradle project with everyone and you have this script, they don't have to have Gradle installed to run your Gradle project. This is what I said now is covered or written here. The advantage of this is that you don't need to have Gradle installed on your machine. And later you'll see how with Gradle W we actually use this keyword to run scripts, or I should say tasks. Next step we go more practical with Gradle, and we need to install it. I used Homebrew to install it. If you don't have Homebrew and want to use some other ways to install it, check out this link. And if you don't have Brew installed, just go to the Homebrew website and install Brew. It's basically just one command. So to install Gradle, you need to run this command. You need to go inside terminal, copy this command, and the notes are linked down into the description. Run this command. I'm not going to run it because I have already installed Gradle. And after you've done that, to check if Gradle is actually installed, just type in Gradle-v. And if Gradle is installed, you will see a Gradle version that you have installed here. That should be the output of this command. So if we now have installed Gradle, the next thing is to create a Gradle build. So now I want to use my terminal here once again. Go inside desktop. Let's see what we have here. We have some folders. Let's make a new folder called Gradle demo. If we go inside this folder with the cd command, change the directory. Now to create our first Gradle build, you need to run Gradle init. And you should run this command inside the folder, which is basically the Gradle project. It's basically the same thing when you integrate Git inside of your project, but instead of Git, of course, you type in Gradle. But here there are some other steps, as you can see. To set up a Gradle project, you need to select the type of project. We'll do the basic one and type in just one. Then I'll select Groovy for build script and type in 1. You can also set here a project name. I'll just say ender because I want the default Gradle demo. And now if we do a ls-a, you'll see we have some hidden Gradle projects. And now we have successfully created our first Gradle build, or our first Gradle project. The next thing we'll try to do is create a task. So to do this, just go inside your Gradle project, inside terminal. And this is not necessary, but we'll first of all make a directory called source. I'll type in, first of all, I'll just do clear, make a new directory called source. Then this is basically just the simplest task you can do, just so we can sort of get our hands wet. The second thing is we'll add a myfile.txt in the source directory, and we'll do that by doing nano myfile.txt. Then now we have opened this file in the nano text editor, or it's just an editor, and we'll type in here like this video if you haven't already, or just like this video. Then I'll save this file, and how I've done that is I've basically just, if you don't know already, I've done Command X to try to execute. Then Nano editor will ask me if I want to save changes. I'll type in just Y, then enter, and that should save my file. To see the contents of my file, just type in cat my file, and as you can see, even my file knows what you need to do. The next thing, here I have said you need to type in hello world, but it doesn't really matter. So next, actually I forgot to mention, you have a very important build.gradle file. The moment you installed Gradle in your projects, and you can see it by doing ls-1. And this build.gradle, if we just see the contents of it, for now it's basically just comments, and it has this .gradle extension to it. This is the most important, I want to say, file in your Gradle project. And in this file we are now going to write a task, which is just a copy task. And as you can see here, we will define a task called copy of type copy. Just ignore this other task zip and this plugins code. We just need to type in these tasks, and basically this is the format of a task. Basically you need to first use the keyword task, then type in the name of the task. It sort of has this function like syntax, because as you can see this is sort of like a type or the return, then we have the name of the task, and we have some parameters here. The first one being the type, which is just copy. Then group should be custom. I guess this is because perhaps this is for just to say this is our own tasks. And description is like whatever, it should be random. I mean, you define the description by yourself. Also, then we wrap it inside these brackets, and in here you type in from with a string source and into this. With copying, of course, this task expects two parameters, the first one being from and the second one being into. So let's see how I do. Actually, that was a mistake. I want to clear and just go inside on my build.gradle file. Then I'll just type in task copy. Then I'll type in type, which is copy again. Then what we have is, let's see if I can recall. I cannot. So we have group, which is custom. Group, type in custom as a string. Then you have description. Make sure you spell it correctly. And description will just say copying from source to destination. Here I'll open a bracket, type in from source to or into dest. And basically what this task will do is copy all the contents in the from the source directory into the dest directory or destination. We currently don't have this destination folder, but the task will create it for us. We wanna Control X, type in yes, then enter. Now if we do cat build Gradle, you can see we have written our first test. So we have only written our first test. Let me clarify. We have not run this task. So that is actually the next step, which is to run this test by doing this is how you run scripts, doing a full stop, then /gradle vw and then copy. And this Gradle W just stands for Gradle Wrapper that we have here. This is what I was talking about, if you can recall. So to run our scripts, we just do Gradle W, copy. If we run this command, you can see it processes something or it just copies. And I forgot to mention that after writing this, you need to specify the name of your tasks. And the name, if we do cat build Gradle, the name of our task is copy. If we typed in here like something like task 1, if you want to run the task 1, you need to here type in task 1. So the task has finished successfully in 7 seconds. That's a lot of time for just copying, but let's do ls-1. And here we need to have our dest folder, which it looks like we don't. Wait a second, did I miss something? Let me check once again. Oh, we needed to actually create this file into the source directory. This task doesn't run because the mal file is not in the source. So the source directory basically doesn't have any contents. So what we might do now is just type in mv to move this my file into the source / my file. Or we can create another file, but let's see if this works by doing a cd source then doing ls. So we have this mal file now into the source. So it worked, and the content is like this video. So now we can actually delete our file in here that we have in our Gradle project by doing remove my file .txt. It says no such file. Oh, because we moved it. It doesn't copy it, it moves it. If you do ls-1, there's no such file. So now once again, and basically now what I'm doing is just doing the arrow up key, and that gives you the previous commands you've run. I'm looking for this Gradle W copy command. Now if we run again, now if we do ls-1, you'll see now we have the task copy created a dest folder for us. And if we go inside and see what's inside, we have successfully copied the mal file. If we see the contents, it's again like this video. So that is how you create and run a task. And the next thing we are going to learn is what are build scans. I have actually previously mentioned build scans, sort of, when we were talking about what is inside, and we'll actually use them in practice in just a little bit. So build scans basically provide extensive information about a build run that you can use to identify build issues. You can also share build scans with others. So build scan, as in the definition, allows you to have in detail information about a build run, and then this information can be, or actually is, uploaded to the internet, and you can share it with others with a simple shareable link. We will now see that in action by running the copy task with a build scan. To do that, I will go inside, first of all, into desktop, and then into Gradle demo. Then now here I have my Gradle projects. This is my Gradle project. Now to run my task with build scan, we just need to do Gradle W and the name of the task, which is copy, and then -- scan. I'll just copy this command, paste it here, and run it. As you can see, the task is being run at the moment, and it's being done now. So this requires you to, publishing a build scan requires you to just accept the Gradle terms of service, and to accept them you just type in yes, and then the run has finished, and the build scan is published now at this link. This link you'll get at the end of the output. And if we go into the browser, paste in this link. Actually, this is the first time of me doing it, so you need to type in your email and just say go. Then you need to activate your email, or you need to follow the link in the email to activate your build scan. And when you go again to your Gradle link, you can see your Gradle build run. And then when you go to your link, you can see your build scan here. That's all you need to know about what a build scan is. And the next thing we're going to do is make a Java project with Gradle. We'll just create a very simple basic Gradle project in Intellij. So to start off, I'll just open Intellij, and hopefully this doesn't open my project. And you need to go to create new project, and on this panel to the left side, select Gradle, then Java. Next, just name your project, let's say like this video, and then you have location. So here you need to specify the location of the project. Let's say I want to put it in the other file. So it says directory is not empty, so you'll actually need an empty directory. That's why I'll create a new folder, call it like this video project. Once that file is created and empty, just click open, and other things you have here are the artifact coordinates. Basically, you have three things here. I'll start with the version. The version is basically just a version of the software, and automatically Gradle adds the snapshot keyword here, which means that this version is not ready for production. The second one, this artifact ID, all of these are explained here, and it says the name of the artifact within the group, usually a project name. So I'll just keep here my project name, and here in the first one you have the group ID, which is the name of the artifact group, usually a company domain. So this is, as it says here, a company domain. for example, you have, but it's reversed. Instead of successful, something like successfulcompany.com, you have your domain, successful company, let's say, or just success. So that's not really important for now, since this is just a demo project. Click finish, and then we have the project open. To see the files, just click here, and once you expand this here, as you can see, this is the most important folder, which is the source folder. This is where we have now the build Gradle file, in which we have what plugins we use, what type of repository we use, and don't worry about this for now. We'll learn about repositories later, what dependencies we use, etc. And into the source folder, as I have actually written here, you have two files or folders. Actually, this is a mistake, folders. And if we go back to the project, you see these are the folders I was talking about. The first one being main, it has a Java folder inside, and here is where we will write all of the source code of the program. And in the test folder, you have another Java file where you would write in all the tests. So the second thing you need to know about this project is, at the right, you have the categories of tasks in the Java plugin we just implemented. And this is, I didn't mention, we have implemented a Java plugin, or imported a Java plugin. To see all of the categories of tasks this plugin offers us, you'll go inside Gradle, then expand the project, which is like this video. Then you have two folders, expand the test folders, and here you have all of the categories of tasks inside the Java plugin. If you expand the build categories folder, you have all of these tasks, and if you double click them, the task will execute. So that is how much you need to know for now with Gradle. The next thing I'm going to cover are repositories. So basically, a repository, when I say repository, I mean kind of the same thing like a repository in Git. A repository is just a storage location for software packages. And Gradle has three different types of repositories. This is kind of a new thing where you have to specify which type of repository you need to use, and there are actually four and not three. These are actually, I'll cover all of them four. The four different repositories are the IV repository, which is just a private repository. Then you have the Maven Central, the Binary, JSON, and Google Android. So here, if we go inside my project and just open the build.gradle file, which is open now, you'll see we're in this project we are using the Maven Central repository, and you specify which repository you use just by typing in repository using these curly brackets, and then just type in the name of your repository and these brackets.